Hi everybody, and welcome to my latest video. This one's a bit of a change of pace as I'm going to be, instead of doing technical demonstrations, I'm going to go through a quick PowerPoint presentation. I thought it was important because I mentioned this in my previous video when I showed the Okta integration, but I want to show you how some of the more sophisticated phishing attacks are working these days. Now, moving swiftly on, I'm going to focus on Evilgnix2 and Modlishka as the phishing attacks. Now, you think when phishing attacks, if you've got multi-factor authentication configured, they would not be susceptible to these man-in-the-middle attacks. This is not correct. This is actually incorrect when you look at how these two examples work. Now, they work by behaving as a man-in-the-middle transparent proxy server attack. So instead of the traditional phishing tactics where someone creates a fake domain and sends the user to a web page that they've tried to create to mock up the real page, these work in a much cleverer, much more sophisticated way. Now, the one thing that struck me when I first started looking at these is how easy they were to set up. In fact, you can get either of them set up in around 60 minutes, certainly under an hour. Focusing on this presentation, I'm looking more at Evilgnix2, and the reason for that is it's even easier to configure than Modlishka. You don't need really any IT experience. It even gives you custom fishlets specifically configured to target major sites such as Airbnb, Okta, Outlook, PayPal, Citrix, O365, and these fishlets are little wizards that help you set this up. Now, unlike some other demonstrations I've seen in online, I'm not going to actually show you an attack in real time or live. I'm just going to go through the theory of the attacks. Now, how do these attacks work? Well, as I said before, they're a phishing attack. And in this example, I'm going to show how you would phish an Okta instance. Now, again, this is nothing against Okta. I think Okta is an incredibly good platform. And as I said in the previous slide, this particular attack can work on a multitude of different domains such as Airbnb, Outlook, Twitter. So please, I'm not targeting Okta in this attack. I'm just describing and using Okta as an example. So as it's a phishing attack, you do need to phish an end user, and for that you need to set up a bait domain. So looking at bait domains, I was able to find ok-ta.com on GoDaddy for just 99 pence for the year. You would need a virtual private server. Again, DigitalOcean can give you one of those for as little as $5 per month. So for under £6, you've got everything you need to set up and begin this phishing attack. Now, I mentioned earlier that Evilgnix2 has fishlets. These fishlets even get a publicly trusted certificate. It uses Let's Encrypt, a service I use myself sometimes, but it uses Let's Encrypt to get a publicly trusted certificate. Now that's so important in this attack because it allows the man-in-the-middle attack to go ahead without the user really being aware that something is wrong. So how does it work? As I said before, this is a phishing attack, so you need to get somebody to click on your bait link or your bait domain. Now, a link can be sent out either through email, SMS, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp. Let's be honest, most of us, or the majority of people, when they see these, they'll disregard it. But again, it's the way phishing works is don't send it out to 2 or 3 people, you send it out to thousands. So if you're sending this out to 10,000 people, hopefully, if you're an attacker, that is, hopefully somebody clicks on it. Now, when they click on the link, it sends them to, in this case, the Evilgnix2 proxy. Now, because it's got a public trusted certificate assigned to the browser, the end user won't see anything strange in his browser. The browser will come up with the padlock that they expect. Now, this is where it gets clever. It doesn't mimic the website. It passes the traffic directly to the correct website. This is all configured as part of the setup process of Evilgnix2. Sorry. So the user actually sees the site they're expecting to see. So the only thing visible is if they look in the address on the bar on their whatever browser they're using, they might see that it's the wrong domain. But apart from that, everything else looks correct. Because it looks correct, the user enters their credentials. Now this is forwarded to the real site, but Evilgnix2 as a transparent proxy will harvest and farm these credentials off. Now it's able to do this because it's performing SSL decryption and then re-encryption to send the credentials on to the right site. Now, bear in mind if you're using a platform that uses ADFS, for example, at this point, Evilgnix2 has harvested domain credentials. Now, this is where it gets clever. Because it's actually the user's authenticating and logging onto the correct website, it will send off an MFA request to the MFA application of choice. Now, this could be Okta, Duo, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator. Now, before I get any angry comments below in this video, I do have to point out that I'm talking about this or these MFA devices being set up in the most basic of mode. So, simple pre-shared keys to provide the verification, or sorry, shared secrets rather than pre-shared keys. So shared secrets provide the authentication. I am fully aware that with Duo, with Okta Verify, with Microsoft Authenticator and Google Authenticator, you can have different characteristics built in. So you can have location, you can have other factors built in to prevent against this. So please, I am aware of this. I'm talking about using these as a pure, simple prompt on a device which you say, yes, that's me. If you do have other factors, then it can prevent against this sort of attack. However, if it's just a simple verification, the user accepts this, verifies it, and the website then sends the user back a valid session token in a cookie form, which is then presented to the end user, and the end user is logged in and is able to use whatever portal they're using. However, Evilgnix2 has not only got the user's credentials, but it also has this session token in a cookie form. That cookie can then be imported into any browser, and the attacker can access that platform for as long as that MFA session is valid. So you can see it very simple to set up, very sophisticated attack. I was quite impressed by how clever it was, in all fairness. And that is just an overview of how this attack works. Now, obviously, with who I work for, I'm going to have to tell you how IdProtect can help against this. Well, it helps and prevents against this because when using IdProtect with the likes of Okta or O365, it doesn't use that platform as its authentication provider. It farms off the authentication to IdProtect, who becomes the identity provider. But let's go through the flow again. I'll show you how it prevents against it. So the user once again gets a phishing link and clicks on the link. It goes to the Evilgnix proxy, which then transparently sends it to the real website. Now, the user will see this and enter their username. Now, this is either the email address or any other particular username, but they'll enter this. This will then be taken and stored by Evilgnix2. There's nothing that can be done about this. It just happens. Now, ultimately, yes, this isn't ideal, but if it is an email address, and people's email addresses generally are public knowledge anyway. In fact, it was probably an email address that was used to send the phishing link in the first place. However, this is where things change. Because you're now using IdProtect as an identity provider, when the user attempts to perform a login, it moves the authentication from Okta in this case, but any other platform, to IdProtect. Now, it redirects. So the very act of this redirects breaks the session or the link that the user's got with the Evilgnix2 proxy. The user is now going directly to their IdProtect identity portal. The user performs the authentication using biometrics, unlocking the user's private key from the secure enclave or the trusted execution environment. It then logs them into the IdProtect platform, which then uses a SAML insertion to redirect back to the correct website. Now, again, it's crucial. It's this redirect that takes the user away from the initial phishing link they were sent. So by using IdProtect as an identity provider and using SAML or OAuth to provide this very chain moves the user away from this transparent proxy man in the middle of attack that they were vulnerable to using just a simple MFA style authentication along with username and password. Now, even if somebody were to try and do a man in the middle of attack with the user's private certificate or the user's private certificate or private key, it wouldn't be able to harvest any information because, as I said before, the IdProtect authentication is based on X509 certificates, not passwords. So it does use public-private key technology, which means the authentication will only happen with the correct and trusted endpoint, not an endpoint that's got a bait domain, as it were. Okay, well, I think all it leaves me to say is thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it wasn't too dull and boring for you. Hopefully it was a bit insightful. If you'd like to know any more about these attacks or any more about IdProtect and how we can potentially help, please do get in touch. And all that leaves me to say is thank you and see you next time at my next video. Thanks again. Bye.